It stands right outside Israel's Knesset and is considered a symbol for the Jewish people. And it's found in this week's Torah portion, a Torah portion which tells us of all of the articles that were made for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle, one of which was the menorah. The menorah plays an important role in Jewish history. But which menorah? What menorah? So let me tell you a little something about the menorah. The menorah that most of us as American Jews think of is the Hanukkah menorah. That's not the menorah that stood in the temple. That's not the menorah that stands outside of Israel's Knesset. That menorah has 8 candle holders, or holders for oil, for the 8 days of Hanukkah and 1 Shabbos. The menorah that was made for the tabernacle and that was made for the temple had 7 lamps to it. And those 7 lamps have many explanations and symbols associated with them. The 7 spheres of heaven, the 7 days of the week, the heavenly bodies known in ancient times, the branches of human knowledge with the light of God in the center. What did the menorah look like? Well, the one that you find outside of the Knesset is depicted by way of our destruction. What do I mean? There's an Arch of Titus in Rome. The Arch of Titus is what Titus built to celebrate the victory over the Jews in ancient times and how they were brought into exile. And depicted on the Arch of Titus are the Jews carrying this menorah from the temple into exile. And so we took the picture from our destruction and made it the contemporary symbol for Israel. But did the menorah in the temple actually look like the one depicted by the Arch of Titus? Or depicted as you will see it in many synagogues? Maimonides doesn't think so. He has a completely different way of looking at the menorah. And I'll let you in on a little secret. The menorah that we had depicted in many synagogues only has 6 branches, because in many Orthodox synagogues we wanted to remind people of the destruction of the temple and that this menorah does not represent the real menorah. This menorah reminds us of the destruction that we suffered. What happened to that menorah? We're going to have to ask Indiana Jones. It was brought into exile. After that, there are all sorts of conspiracy theories reaching all the way to the Vatican. What was the purpose of the menorah? You're not going to believe this. The purpose of the menorah was to give light. The menorah was lit at night, not during the day. The purpose of the menorah was to give light. Light is very important in Judaism. We kindle a light when we welcome the Shabbos. We kindle a light when we say farewell to the Shabbos. We kindle a light to commemorate the yahrzeit of a loved one. A light brings a glow. A light has certain unique abilities to it. You can take one light and it can kindle many others, and it does not diminish its own brilliance. We can give of ourselves and still be who who we are while others benefit. You should know there's a phrase in Yiddish, a tzaddik in pelts, a righteous person in a fur coat. What does that mean? When we're cold, there's two ways you can warm yourself. You can put on a fur coat, or you can kindle a fire. If you put on a fur coat, you'll be warm, but nobody else will be. If you kindle a fire, you'll be warm, and you'll share that warmth with others. Which kind of a Jew are you? The next time you're in a synagogue and you look at the Ner Tamid, the eternal light meant to remind us of Menorah, ask yourself that question. Are you a tzaddik in a fur coat? Or do you share your goodness with others? Have a good Shabbos.